Preparing to live stream. Preparing to live stream. Wow. I don't know if I'm supposed to close that.
Oh, I don't know.
But we're live on YouTube, Chair, so we can proceed, and I'll figure out what I'm doing over here. I'll mute myself while I do so.
All right. Understanding that we are now live on YouTube, I call this hearing of the Archaeological Review Committee of June 3rd, 2021 to order. We will need to have a roll call, please.
All right. Chair David Eck.
Present.
Member Courtney Wands. Member Wands, I'm not sure.
Oh, are you not hearing me?
Now I do. Member Wands is present. Member Zinn. Huh. You know, he's been signed in, but I haven't actually heard him speak.
He's muted at the moment.
Member Zinn, are you present? I understand that Member Jake Ivy is excused today.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
And we're not sure about Member Derek Pierce. He does not appear to be in attendance at the moment.
I emailed him.
Okay. And I don't know if anyone has a way to nudge Member Zinn and see if he's actually here.
I can email him as well. I don't have his phone number.
We will need there.
There is Dale in a second personification.
Can you hear me? Because I was muted on the other one.
Yes, we can hear you. You're a little.
That's how I've got to get out of this other one. Okay. That's why I have multiple devices. That's why. Okay. Hi, I'm here.
Thank you, Member Zinn. And Chair, we do have a quorum of 3. And if we gain any additional members, we will note it for the record.
Alrighty. First item before us is the approval of the agenda. Anything to change on this thing, Nicole?
May I suggest that you move Miss Maggie to case number 2 and Mr. Winters to case number 1, if we would like to see if Member Pierce arrives.
Good suggestion. Ms. McGee is
sorry.
in attendance by telephone, I believe. She understands that she'll be moved to number 2. Anything else?
No, Chair, nothing to add.
For approval of the agenda for June 3rd, 2021, with the change that case number 1 will now be case number 2 and vice versa.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Chair Eck, I'm going to be calling on you, I guess, since we need all 3 to vote on motions.
Yes.
Okay. And Member Wands? I'm still not hearing you, Member Wands.
No, you're not
No?
coming through.
That I heard.
Oh, okay.
Now you did.
Okay. And Member Zinn?
Yes.
Great. Motion passes. Agenda is approved as amended.
All right, the next item would have been approval of minutes, which we have none apparently, so we will move on to matters from the floor. Anyone?
Matters from the floor. We do have several folks in attendance, and you can raise your virtual hand if you'd like to speak to matters from the floor. And I do not see any.
All right, thank you. Next item is old business. I'm correct, there was nothing presented as old business.
That is correct, Chair.
We'll move on to new business. Case number 1 is 2021-3686, River and Trails Archaeological Review District. Ron Winters, agent for Blue Buffalo LLC, requests approval of an archaeological monitoring report. You have your staff report, Nicole. Anything to add to that?
No, Chair.
Right, at this point, we turn it over to the presenter, Mr. Ron Winters, to be sworn in, and then go forth with whatever he needs to tell us about this submittal.
Mr. Winters, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And can you please state your name and address for the record?
Ron Winters, 109 Calle Paula, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 87505.
Thank you, Ron. Please proceed.
I'm getting Nicole's screen. Should I be seeing that? I mean, I see you off to the side, but I can't.
He's sharing it now.
Yes, I'm sharing the PrimeGov meeting viewers so that we can all go
Oh,
through
okay.
this activity, this fun
Okay.
activity.
Okay. So basically, I mean, you're very familiar with this case. What we did was I used Emily Brown and some of her archaeologists at Aspen CRM Solutions to work on this case, and just because of the scale of it, we had them do, before they did a wholesale, scrape of the site or site prep. We had them, the client, work in the area of the site in terms of scraping, made multiple passes with archaeologists in front and behind the equipment to watch for and document any features that might appear. And with that done, then we did some test trenches to see if, in fact, there were any features that might turn up subsurface beyond what we had encountered or not encountered in the test units that had been done previously. And not finding features of any type, including in the depression that Steve Post had identified, we turned to a lot of Sneed's research on field houses and pit houses that you'll see, and you probably read on my page 34 through 39 in the analysis and conclusions. So that's basically it, and I welcome your comments.
Thank you, Ron. Members in.
I don't have any specific comments, although I'm glad that we did go through this process. I know it was a little bit painful. And I think Steve Post owes you a beer or two. But it was worth, making sure that depression was a negative result, as opposed to letting the whole site get scraped and finding out later. So thank you for doing this, and I have no other comments.
Thank you, Dale. Number 1.
I had no comments.
Thank you, Courtney. I just have a couple of questions. And of course, I can't avoid noticing edits. So there's one thing to throw at you. Let me start with a minor edit. It's your page 12, packet page 18. It's the very first entry on that page of table 2. Cieneguitas is misspelled. The E is missing in the second full syllable.
Okay, noted.
Your page 21, packet page 27. Thank you for the description of the iterative way of doing the scraping. I want to verify that my math is correct and that one could summarize by saying, therefore, the scraping reached a maximum depth from surface of 15 centimeters.
Yes, no, again, page 21, you said, Dave?
Yes,
Okay. And the passes, the 3 passes and what it totaled, is that what you're asking?
yes, sir. Just to be sure that it should be a minimum of 9 centimeters of depth and a maximum of 15 centimeters of depth as written. That's what I come up with.
Right, right.
All right. Which leads to the question. That should have been deep enough to encounter the slight color change that I'm remembering from the testing in vicinity of test unit 1. And so it did not manifest itself. And so the question is, this scraped surface, would you characterize it as clean and sharp in similar fashion to a nice clean profile? Or was it a less well-defined, sort of loosely scraped surface?
Somewhere in between, David, I think, I mean, this is a backhoe, and it's not digging with a bucket where you're, making a clean pass. You're pushing the dirt or pulling the dirt, one or the other. But it was certainly a smooth enough surface that you could detect anything that would appear out of the ordinary, different than the surrounding soils. I feel confident in that.
Yep.
And like I said, it was walked both in front and behind to make sure that was the case, that we weren't missing anything.
Excellent. Then the last thing is another editorial. It's packet page 51, your page 45. It's in your references cited. The title rendered for your first entry, 2018, Agua Fria is misspelled.
That's an old spelling of that.
Very old.
The Basque
Albuquerque. With those minor things, there is nothing else that I feel a need to say.
Thank you, David.
So will someone take a shot at a motion? Oh, wait. Anyone else in attendance wishing to make any comment regarding this case shall signify now by raising their digital hand.
Thank you for inquiring, Chair Eck, and I do not see anybody with a hand raised.
All right, seeing no hands raised, we will now entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of case 2021-003686 ARC with as submitted with minor editorial corrections and your observations being satisfied.
All right,
I second.
moved and seconded. Roll call vote time.
All right. Member Wands.
Hello.
It's not picking up your votes for some reason.
Hi.
Thank you. Member Zinn.
Yes.
Charek.
Aye.
Thank you. And we have unanimous approval of the motion.
I think sound in general is not cooperating because Sally, your audio dropped out there, and so I never heard you call on me.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ron. This next item on the agenda, before we go there, full disclosure, I spent at least 45 days in the company with Shelby McGee in a certain cemetery in downtown Santa Fe. It was a non-supervisory interaction. Ms. McGee was employed by an independent contractor hired for the purpose of effecting the actual excavations. I was there as window dressing and occasional quasi-expert advice.
You gave lots of advice.
I don't believe there is a conflict, and I would proceed to hear this case on the presumption that none will be perceived.
I think in my past of all kinds of boards and commissions, that disclosure, disclose is the best way to move forward, and I don't perceive any conflict.
Thank you, members in.
I concur with that. Member Wands, did you have any concerns with Charek proceeding on this one? Okay. I know this is a very small professional community, and so you're all likely to know one another. So.
Indeed. So therefore, we will now consider case number 2021-3685. Shelby McGee, archaeologist with Tierra Right-of-Way Services, requests to be listed on the City of Santa Fe list of approved archaeologists for River and Trails and Suburban Archaeological Review Districts. Thank you for your staff report. Nicole, anything to add?
No, Charek, nothing to add.
Oh, and thank you, by the way, for supplementing the paper with the emails and materials. It's
You're
always
welcome.
helpful.
Yes.
It's helpful.
Good.
All right, Ms. Shelby McGee, it is your turn to stand forth and be sworn in.
Sounds good.
And do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And please state your name and address for the record before proceeding.
Shelby McGee, 3724 Alta Street, Northeast, Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Thank you very much.
All right, Shelby, anything that you feel like you need to add to materials you've submitted? The floor is yours.
Sure. I have been working as an archaeologist in New Mexico for the past 3 years, and I am on the SHPO's list for approved crew chiefs, and I am also BLM qualified to crew chief in Northwestern New Mexico. I have spent over 45 days performing excavation in the city of Santa Fe proper, and also I've performed excavations on Pueblo 3 and Pueblo 4 field houses near Placitas, New Mexico, and worked on Clovis period sites in Northwestern New Mexico, Guyana period sites. I feel like I have a fairly wide range of experience in Northwestern New Mexico.
All right. Committee members, it's your turn. Member one.
I believe based on the education and experience with the SHPO's directory listing, she meets the qualifications for suburban rivers and trails without any question.
All right. Members in.
I tend to defer to the archaeological types on this committee, and as I am not, but I do feel like she does meet the qualifications, certainly for rivers and trails. So I concur.
All right. I have nothing to ask, offer, or otherwise opine about. So since there's no one else in attendance, I can't imagine there's anybody who could raise a hand from the floor to make any comment on this case.
Chair, there is one person that we may wish to give an opportunity.
Oh, is there?
If our one attendee wishes to speak, Trisha Rude, feel free to raise your hand and we can swear you in if you'd like to add anything. I'm not seeing a hand, Chair.
All right. And I'm sorry about that. I can't see the people who aren't elevated to a certain level of attendance. So I assumed, and we know what that does, that there was no one else in attendance. Thank you for the verification. We can now move to a roll call vote.
Not sure we had a motion.
Yes, we need that.
We need a motion first.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of case 2021003685 for Ms. Shelley McGee, archaeologist, to be approved for the River and Trails area of Santa Fe
River and Trails and Suburban
and
Archaeological
suburban.
Review District.
Yes, thank you for completing that for me.
I second.
Moved and seconded. Now I get to call for a roll call vote.
All right, member ones. Yes, I see an affirmative. Member Zinn
Yes.
and Chair Eck.
Yes.
Excellent. Unanimous approval.
Look forward to be productive.
Hey, thank you, Shelby. We look forward to seeing something from you.
Yes, I look forward to doing more work in Santa Fe. Thank you so
All right.
much.
Thanks.
Okay. Free to go. So we can now move on to administrative matters and communications.
Thank you, Chair Eck. So there's two items, and actually, I will just kind of, as a matter of communication, say that we've started to interview for the manager position. Just today we started, and we'll conclude interviews Monday, and we will see how it goes. But I wanted to let you know, and I will be around to help with the transition, so I'm not going away in the next month or anything like that. Maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. So
A manager position. To be specific, what will this person be managing and what is breadth of our involvement?
So the individual will replace they will be the Historic Preservation Division manager, and there'll be a permanent position. So they'll replace the position that Lisa Roach left and that David Rash had filled before. Although David's title was a little bit different, but so they'll be managing the division, and they'll be the manager, two senior planners, which have attended one of the ARC meetings, and then there will be an inspector, Gary, as usual, and Marisa and Amanda, who fill more administrative roles in the division. Amanda, we're still waiting for her to come over and are really looking forward to it because we've been short one person, so that'll be great to get her on board too. So it's all the exciting updates except for this technology here. So I just wanted to show you all quickly kind of the all the magic that happens behind the scenes. So this is the Intergive system, and it's a permitting it's permitting software that the city decided to engage in. I guess it's been like 4 years now, and there was a lot of planning that went into it. For better or worse, we have it, and it does do a lot of things that are useful. It's a relational database. For those of you that are familiar with NIMCRIS, it's similar in terms of the data it collects. It's just more about permits and land use functions and things like that. So this is our kind of the starting page, and I'll just show you, I'm just going to show you the archaeological cases. There's been some challenges in generating some of the documents, and we worked through one yesterday. And so I can show you what these items look like. And let me see here. Pick on this person, whoever this is. Okay, so this is how we start a case, and this is how these numbers that are now on the agendas are generated. We have the plan type, and in this case, it's the Archaeological Review Committee, but we also have Historic Districts Review Board, administrative approvals, things like that. We have work classes. And so that is whether it's a monitoring report or if it's related to monitoring, survey. I can't remember what the other categories are, and we could open a new one if you're interested in seeing what the categories are. The case is assigned right now to me, and we haven't quite decided. It's likely that the HPD manager will continue to manage the Archaeological Review Committee meetings, but we haven't decided. But whoever the case is assigned to is put here. You put in the application date, expiration, all these nice things. I like to make a little, bless you, for quick reference. I like how it shows who sneezed. Then we have, you enter the address. In this case, this is the De Vargas Mall. And so that address was entered. You enter the contact for the case. In this case, it was Susan Stinson. She is she is not actually a certified archaeologist through the city, but she is the applicant. So there's that correct information on there. And then we now have fees associated with the Archaeological Review Committee hearing. This title is going to be cleared up a little bit as we go on, but it's $100 for people to come forward with a case, the committee. So this invoice is created, you build an invoice, send it to the applicant, and then they're able to pay it.
You pay it to San Francisco, by the way, and there's someplace out there that doesn't go to San.
It doesn't go to, oh, really? The way the
No, the one I got from Marissa for recent projects is like somewhere in California.
oh, weird. So they must be like the host for the
Agent, right?
yeah. So, okay, so this kind of starts the case, gets it rolling, but you also have to enter additional information. So there's a little project description. Here's the report title, the location. If it's trenching, you put that amount. If it's project acreage, you put that amount. Or if it's an easement that's being recorded, if there's a NIMCRIS number, so that we can now have that correlation between NIMCRIS and then the city numbers. That was the intention of putting that in there.
I have my
Oh, yeah.
analog hand raised. Pet peeve, if it's not too late, could we please change the spelling of the word acreage?
Yes, we can.
That's a California spelling.
You know, in PrimeGov, archaeology is not spelled correctly. Okay, acreage. Change spelling. Well, it's spelled correctly in PrimeGov for some people. Okay. So now these things are kind of the back end when, oh, you can't see that. When approval is done, which they have been approved, and their approval date was, if I can get on there, last month. Okay. Then we would put archaeological clearance is required. And then this is the archaeologist is certified in all of these areas. So some of this information works really well and some of it is maybe kind of nebulous. This is for any other zone that might be pertinent to the case for some reason, like the Wagon Road remnants is one example pertinent to this. There is like a generic aspect to some of these templates because it's also used by current planning. So sometimes these things are in here. Now this staff report hasn't been used yet, but starting next month, this will be used. And so the case caption will be entered here. The background and summary and the staff recommendation will be entered there. This conditions of approval populates a different document than the staff report. It should populate the letter of approval. Okay, and this is one of the hiccups that we've had is one, what's populating what in terms of the documents, and I'll show you the documents in a minute. And then do we need other different information? Okay. And I'll just go to the documents here to show you what can be done. So this is the archaeological clearance. And there's been quite a bit of trouble with this populating. And let me see if it'll come up. I need to share a different screen so you guys can see it because it's a pop-up. Okay, and so all the information that's collected in the what I just showed you populates this document. And again, we're having some trouble with conditions, and then eventually these will be given to Chair Eck for signature. Okay.
Is that intended to be handled as a digital signature or a physical signature?
Well, so there's been a little bit of back and forth about that. And initially I thought that we were going to do digital signatures. And it turns out that the clerk is only interested in digital signatures for some things, but not these kind of like department specific documents. So digital signatures are totally possible. If that's the preference of the chair, we can figure that out. Or we can, I mean, eventually, and Sally might be able to speak to this a little bit better. I believe that there'll be in-person meetings starting again too. I suppose that the challenge with this, and I don't know how it was when Lisa was here, is that this document's generated after the hearing rather than how we used to have the form that was signed immediately after. You know, and so I think that there's some changes like that we're just still trying to grapple with and figure out. And so So there's that. And then let me pop up another document that is pertinent to this committee. Okay, and so this one, we've also had some challenges generating, and they've been generated slowly in a more manual fashion. But this is the notice of ARC action that is sent to each of the applicants. There's like these hard-coded verbiage for the letter and Lisa's signature. So we need to change that. And then we're not getting a complete population of kind of who this letter is for or what the case number is. So we're still working on that, but this is what this letter looks like. And this is what the system is supposed to be doing.
I see your example of your spelling comment.
Oh, yes. And then let's see here. I'll show you that. Those are really the two most important. There's a letter to SHPO. I'll show you what the staff report looks like quickly, because I think it will be very nice, actually, and much easier than the current template that we use. And it collects more information, you know, like it has these districts, like what the zoning is and whether or not it's in a flood zone, but it also captures the other information we need. Now you can see one of the issues here is this duplication of district and districts. I'm not really sure what the distinction is. And then, but we're going to start using these for the Historic Districts Review Board as well. And I think it's nice to have the form and to capture the information in one place, especially since we have now pretty much moved over to the digital world. So that's the basics of Intergov, in case you're interested. And I can answer questions about it if you have any, but that's just kind of how.
So are these clearances and letters to the applicants, all that stuff being delayed because they're not being populated, or is it just trying to handle those as we go, or what?
Yeah, so, well, with the archaeological clearance permit or clearance form, yeah, there just isn't that form in existence anymore. And that's not in here. I mean, I'm sure there is when I go into the office, you know, when I go to Santa Fe, I'll be able to find something. But as of now, that form just hasn't been generated. And then the letters have been generated just kind of in a Word document. So what'll happen is that they'll just get, so you can in this, let me share this again. You can here in this documents, you can also add attachments. So anything that I've created outside or anything that gets created or signed outside of Intergov will get put into this attachments section.
But don't they need the archaeological clearances to get started on permits for building permits?
Yeah, so they've been using the action letter has served as that.
Okay.
And actually we haven't had any cases that required the actual clearance permit to be attached to a permit in the last few months. So
That's fortunate, because
yes,
right now I can't remember the last time I signed one.
it was maybe February, but I can't tell you either. And so we'll be catching up on all this stuff, but it's just, yeah, been a big lift with the technology and the changing documents and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so if you have questions, let me know. Any other questions? Otherwise, I will move back to this other computer. And I'll go to this item. So in terms of the July 1st hearing, my recollection was that the committee liked to meet the Thursday after 4th of July, though I realized that this year 4th of July holiday is on a Monday. And so the question was, do you want to keep the meeting for July 1st, or would you like to move it to July 8th?
I have no preference.
I don't think I do either.
I don't have a preference either.
Potato, tomato.
Well, and then I will then say also that in not realizing this, I would request actually, I guess, that the committee meet on the 8th so that I can be present. Because
Physically.
yes, no, not physically, but I will be on an airplane July 1st because it's my birthday. And I
Oh,
didn't,
nice.
yeah, I didn't realize that the meeting.
Oh, we move it to the 8th.
Okay. All right, thanks. But I didn't want to like push that because we could have one of the senior planners cover it if it was more convenient for the 1st. So
Oh, what the heck, consensus, if it's works for all of us on the 8th, let's do it.
okay.
And I did kind of check on our scheduling and stuff in terms of whether we're changing formats, where we're going to meet, what's going on. Today, I was able to bring it up at a staff meeting. I think, quick update on that. The governing body has started looking at options for moving back to in-person meetings. I don't know if I've explained before to this group, but the basis for our ability to meet virtually, which isn't really allowed under the Open Meetings Act, except under very limited circumstances, has been our ongoing state of declared emergency. And so I was just checking with the city attorney today, like how long is our current state of emergency in effect? And it is still in effect on July 8th. So I don't foresee any trouble with us meeting in this exact format on that day. But I wanted to let you know that the city council is going to go to a sort of hybrid format. I think they're going to try it next week on Wednesday. And what that's going to look like will be, I think, the city council, city manager, city attorney, and city clerk present at City Hall. And then there will be video cameras there that will video them and then broadcast them to YouTube and Zoom. And members of the public will be able to watch, attend, and listen by watching on YouTube or sign into the Zoom to participate and speak. And staff will be able to stay home and Zoom in to present on a particular agenda item. I believe is the anticipated program for next Wednesday. So we'll see how that goes. They've gone through and categorized, the city's got about 50 committees. You all are in the category of quasi-judicial land use boards. Although I like that it's a more intimate group, we tend to have smaller meetings and not a horde of the public in attendance, as you've probably noticed. But nonetheless, we are, this is a quasi-judicial group, and obviously they're public hearings technically. So I think you're in what they call like category 2, which is basically the land use boards and the city council committees, the committees that are made up of councilors, are kind of in a category that I think is going to try to follow the same format as the governing body, in that for the interim period, which is undefined at this time, we're going to, I think, start doing some, like the committee members actually meeting in person and members of the public coming remotely. So that could be happening for us, perhaps in August, I think, for this committee. That's a possibility. I would encourage, if you all have input you want to send to Nicole in terms of strong feelings about it one way or the other. There's obviously, everybody has a lot of very different views about whether they want to be in person, how they feel about going, whether folks want to disclose vaccination status, how you feel about masks, whether you, there's a lot, there's a lot. And we're figuring it out kind of day by day. And so right now the guinea pigs are going to be the big dogs, our elected officials, and I think that's great. I can see the chairs getting ready to march on into City Hall. Oh yeah, double, that's great. I think for the city councilors, they're all fully vaccinated and they're wanting to try to be in the same room. Ultimately, I think the Attorney General is going to tell us we're going to need to do that anyway, or our emergency will go away, and our basis for having the committee not meeting together in one place will eventually go away. So just sort of an alert on that. I think we're good to go for July 8th. We'll probably stick with exactly this format for that. The other thing that gets a little weird is that we have special technology they've put into city council chambers that kind of allows the hybrid format. It requires more staff and technical know-how. You can see that I can barely get us onto YouTube and Zoom. We've made it, but you know, there's an extra layer if we have some folks in person and some folks remote. So we'll see how it goes, but we'll have to, and scheduling, we have to all be, you know, I think they're looking at maybe putting a second location where we could do that kind of format as well. There's like a big conference room near the city council chambers that I think might be really good for this group, potentially large enough for, you know, the 10, 12 people. So anyway, we'll keep you apprised of the situation. And if you do want to send Nicole and or me thoughts about, you know, strong feelings about how you would like to see things unfold, that would be welcome input. But with 50 committees and as many views as there are committee members, we're going to work it out as best we can. So that's about it on that.
Thanks, Sally.
Sure.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
And if that's all the admin stuff, we can go to matters from the committee. Going to Acapulco or Texas.
I heard something, Nicole, and maybe you could illuminate us about, they were going to put solar panels in the PERA parking lot, but they hit caskets or something. Did we ever get any involvement in that whatsoever?
No, we haven't heard anything about it. And I can follow up on it with.
Well, I just was curious. I mean, I don't know what happens when there's a accidental find like that. And I think my understanding is they just decided, let's don't do this project, but it's a known thing. And you think it's with cooperation of the state and the city, we should know about this stuff.
So the cooperation between the state and the city has been relatively challenged for a long time. And I think mostly what it is that the state is frequently like, the city has their own ordinance and on city land, they manage their resources. And they offer support. It's not like, you know, we can't go to them for any kind of support, but working the other way. And in this case in particular, the information about what was happening wasn't particularly forthcoming, or like there wasn't like any question as to whether or not the city would like to be continually kind of informed about what was
Well,
going
I think, you know, in the H board, there has always been some kind of at least courtesy, even review, because the state got a lot of black eyes tearing down buildings that they didn't think they had to ask the city about.
Well,
so I don't know if they're doing that still. I think they are.
in the same vein, this project also we requested that they come to H board to talk about the solar panels, and the project manager hasn't responded. The architect has responded, but the project manager is the one that needs to come forward to the HDRB. So I can push on that a little bit and see if we can.
Yeah, I'd just be curious that my understanding is they decided it wasn't worth it and they just weren't gonna do it, but maybe they're gonna try to do something in an alternate location.
Oh, yeah.
But-
Haven't
Yep.
heard.
Just curious.
Okay.
Well,
I can-
thank you for being curious, because I'm curious too. And the only reason I know anything about this is because I'm perennially nosy and I park over in that general vicinity very often. And if there's a pile of dirt, I'm looking at it. And it's not like it was a surprise.
Right.
The fact that it went as far as it did before somebody said, whoa, is kind of amazing to me. So it would be nice if you can get some sort of summary statement, Nicole, to the
Okay.
effect that on the basis of some initial investigations, a decision was made to kill the project in a definitive way. That would be good. I think I'd prefer knowing something as opposed to assuming anything. And I think the city would be better served to know something than to assume anything. And
Yeah, it adds to the information about the archaeology in Santa Fe.
Yep.
We all need.
Yeah, and at the very least, I believe that the Office of Archaeological Studies was contracted to do the work. If the project is still going, that was kind of the last thing I heard. And they're always very good at coming before the ARC just to give have some conversation about their project, or they're usually good about that. And especially if it's requested, so.
well, inscribe a gold leaf invitation.
Okay. Request.
So if committee members have no other things to raise, and in the absence of our critical member, we'll move to item I on the agenda.
I move for adjournment, Mr. Chair.
Moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
Member Ones,
Hi.
I heard you. Member Zinn,
Aye, and I stopped my clock just before Jake because he complained about my clock and then he's not here, so. I have to go set my clock. Aye.
all right, and Chair Eck.
Aye. This
Excellent.
committee is adjourned.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thanks, Nicole.
Have
Thanks,
a good one.
Sally.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you,
Bye,
everyone.
guys.
We'll see you on July 8th.
Yes.